anxiety that I know many of us are feeling, even me, and how it requires some emotional fitness. And what does that mean? And so, of course, I'm working with a lot of people. I'm experiencing it myself. This is a time that's getting really triggering. It's certainly amplifying our habits and our patterns, and a lot of things are very unconscious. And so, of course, the outcome of that is stress or fear or anxiety or all those kind of low level emotional states that we know and we know them intimately, but we don't always know how to quickly bounce back from it or shift it. And I just want to talk to you about some strategies to do that today. And I just want to be really transparent. Yesterday was one of those days for me where I woke up in the morning. It was kind of a remnant from the day before, where I was feeling, some stress and some heaviness from just things that, it's almost like problems, all these problems going on around me, per se. That was my perception of them. And I really had to lean into some, the strategies that I know about, number one, getting really self-aware and acknowledging what I was feeling. And that's not always, or usually not, the most comfortable thing to do. It is counterintuitive for sure. But it is the first step. If you aren't aware that you even have the stress going on and you're operating from a place of avoidance or busyness, or it's just like trying to take your mind off of it, then you're just ignoring the facts, right? And so awareness is number one, and acknowledging and having that acknowledgement of what's really going on is, of course, a part of that step as well. And so I wanted to first explain in my definition, my distinction of what anxiety and stress is really all about. And, for me, stress can be acute or it can be chronic, right? And I think and then there's this anxiety conversation that we have a lot of. For me, that's a buildup of emotional blocks, and it's also it's a buildup, right? It's not just always the one thing that's triggering the anxiety. It's a buildup of past traumas, past stories, past experiences that aren't getting released and healed in some way, right? So first and foremost, I'm going to go into the next two steps. But if you are here live, please say hello. Would love to know you're here and with me. And if you're on the replay, hit #replay. And always, if you get value out of this and you feel like someone else might get value, I would love it if you could share it and just let other people experience some of these strategies as well. So back to the steps. How do you shift out of the stress and fear or anxiety, especially when you've got things to do? Yesterday was a work day for me, and in the first part of the morning, I was really feeling it, and my vibe was low, right? I talk about how to raise your vibration, raise your emotional state, basically, and these things are very low vibe, right? They do not give you good results ultimately if you hang out in fear and anxiety and stress for a long period of time. And so I noticed that yesterday, number one, I have mentors. I have people that I lean on. I'm a mentor for people for this reason. And sometimes I use tools like videos or meditation, obviously, is one of my main tools, and just to calm the anxiety, calm the nervous system down. But otherwise, part of getting awareness and having that acknowledgement sometimes requires that outside perspective. And I certainly leaned into that yesterday. So thank you to my mentor. And number two is, once you've acknowledged it, once you're aware that something's going on, that there is some form of stress or fear or some level of anxiety going on, and you can call it what you want, right? If it just feels heavy and out of alignment, and it doesn't feel light, and you're excited, and there's a difference, right? Then the second step is to change the story. Right? You got to recognize what story you're living in the first place, and what needs to come forth, right? What needs to show itself. And then you get to change the story, reframe it. and really come up with new ways to take your thoughts that lead to those emotions, and therefore the results and the outcome that you have. And so changing the story is really imperative if you want to have that quick bounce back factor. And so that's what I did. I found a few, it's like I really just wrote down a few statements that really helped me shift the current situation, right? The current state of being. And so if I'm in that low vibe, in that stress mode, and I've acknowledged it, I'm aware of it, I might even feel some emotions, which I did, then I have the opportunity to change the story. And one of my shifts was yesterday, and I won't go into necessarily how I got to this statement, but it was a little bit of a process, but it was, I trust myself and therefore I trust the universe. And the moment I spoke it, the moment I wrote it down, it had a whole different energy and a whole different power behind it. And so this is what's going to help you be effective leaders. This is what's going to help you be better at self-management and self-leadership. You're right, is this emotional fitness is imperative if you're going to show up on the next call, right? It's like the moment I came off that conversation with my mentor and then I reframed and changed the story, I had to go on to the next thing on my calendar, right? And so if I'm showing up with the stress and anxiety and fear, people can feel it, whether you know it or not, right? And I'm sure you can feel other people's stress. And you may not recognize it, you may not know what it is and what's really going on for them, but it's there. And so if we can shift our state of being, then we become the leaders that we want to be. We interact with our families and our obviously our teams and the people that we're managing in a much more powerful way. So it's important to have this emotional fitness. So number one is awareness and acknowledgement. Number two is change the story and reframe. Do something that's going to help you not only just in the moment feel better, but it's going to rewire your brain for that matter. And then the third step is to detach, right? It's like we detach from the problems that you are so-called problems that are in that current moment, and I call it detach from your attachments. And so we're usually attached to expectation, we're attached to the outcome, we're attached to how it's got to be done, or the fact yesterday I was attached to not knowing how, right? I was literally attached to like, I don't know how to solve this. Right. So I was attached to what I call the ego trick called the confusion. Right. And I was in the I don't knows, and that alone can create a lot of attachment. So just imagine the word attachment, like feel it. It feels heavy. It feels effortful. It feels resistant. Right. And so therefore the step 3 is to detach from that. And there's a whole method and process I have around that. But the bottom line is if you can first get aware that you're even attached, you can start to untether, right? So those are the 3 steps. And I just wanted to kind of elevate your awareness today on what those are. This is the first step or first few steps to shifting stress, fear, and anxiety and really up-leveling your emotional fitness. And I just want to take the opportunity, if any of you are looking for a deeper dive into this conversation and many other conversations around self-leadership, and kind of thriving during this time of adversity, and really getting underneath the things that keep us playing small, holding us back, and in these chronic states a lot of times, then I'm super excited to introduce to you my upcoming one-day virtual event. I would have it in person if I could, right? But it's called the Deep Dive One-Day Virtual Event, and it's on July 17th. And you can go to this link on the screen, bravemasters.com/deep dive, and register. And it's really going to be an impactful day. It's going to be an experiential day, an immersive day. I've brought on 2 other experts that are going to help with not only well-being, also leading through adversity, and we're going to have a very open dialogue and love seats, right, where you can actually get some support directly from me in that day together. And it's going to be a really transformative day. Bottom line is, wherever you are right now, whatever you're feeling, whatever emotional state you're dealing with or experiencing, and you want to be different, and you're committed to making that difference, right? there's a gap in between, right? There's a gap. There's where you are to where you want to be, and there's a gap in between. And I'm going to help collapse the gap during this one-day event. And it's going to shift the needle in a very big way. And we're going to get in touch with who we are and really understanding what it requires of us to have that bounce back factor, to create that resilience and have a different outcome. I mean, I believe that who you are now will be forever changed after that day, because you can't unlearn it. And you can't say that you weren't there, right? But the shift is you got to show up. So take a moment, check out the webpage, register, and join us. It'll be an amazing day. In the meantime, use these strategies to shift your stress, fear, and anxiety, or any low-level emotional state that you might be feeling, and let me know how that works for you. Until then, I will see you soon. And thank you so, so much. Talk to you soon.